Welcome to the Twomey Stock Market Report Stock Buy Alert. This is Thursday, May 26, 2022, and I'm James Twomey. Today, we want to get a stock buy-in for Utility Sector Fund, XLU. We've been talking about that in our past segments, pretty much steady right from the get-go. And now the 10 EMA has crossed above the 15. And it's above, of course, the 250 is, which we've been chatting about the last week or so. It has risen enough that it's worth jumping in. If you can get in, let's see, it got in at 74.4. If you can get in a little bit lower than where it is right now, that is great. You can put a buy-in of 74.5, so 74.4 or 74, and ladder in. May have a little bit of a pullback, but it's above the 10 crossed above the 14 yesterday. We definitely have a very strong stochastic. The MACD, the green is crossed above the red, and it just went into positive territory. That is a very promising sign. Good setup, and may go sideways the rest of the day, but definitely worth getting in. And we talked about utilities, right? This is the ETF, if you will, the sector fund. Typically, as yields increase, the Fed raises rates, bonds get higher yields, they give you more return. People get out of the utilities because utilities, more fluctuation, it's not guaranteed, and whereas a bond does. So we've got interesting dynamics. We know the Fed's going to raise 0.5 the next meeting, and they're going to continue that pretty aggressively till the fall at that rate. That is telling me that people are waiting to get into bonds. I don't know. I'm not a bond expert as far as, I don't see the trading desk of the bonds. With that said, we're going to ride utilities in the meantime. So get a buy-in, and even if it pulls a little bit back here, it's definitely worth a ride. The other one is AVD. I had it on my list for the other day. I didn't bring it up. I didn't know if it would be something we wanted to put, since we had a big basket, a little more than I like to recommend. But if you can get this on a pullback today, buy if you can get it under 23.8 or around that number. It is a holding company for chemical and agriculture used in food stocks, and also for consumer goods and other areas. The holding company sent out a letter to their stockholders, if I got this right, yesterday, saying that stock has upside potential of 55 to 65 range. That's a big jump. So AVD, if you can get in, I think the horse came out of the barn a little bit. I don't like trading on news because there's usually a pop and kind of pullback. It is this is the daily chart now, W pattern that I like to sometimes trade if it goes above the midpoint here, which it did. Our stochastic's very positive, turning down a little bit here. The MACD is in positive territory and climbing. The relative strength index pulled back a little bit, 64.18. So it's at 20. It closed. It had a high today of 24, and high at 25 actually, 0.44. It just closed on this last tick at 24.45. So, what did I say for a buy? 23.8. That's about a 50% pullback. So anywhere between 24 and change and 23.8 or even less. Watch it and see if you can get in there. If you put a buy, and if you don't get it, it'll probably tick off later. It crossed above the last couple of days. I got in at dollar cost averages. I'm at 22.83. So, some good news there. The market is running. And typically we have to be very careful this is a bear market bounce. How long it could go? It could go for some time. It is before holiday. Typically holiday, you'll see some uptrend. And then also when we come back from the holiday, some uptrend. Institutional and big investors and these firms, they tend to take the long weekend. They put in their buys, they put in their stops. They've got some computer-run models. If that kicks off, then they're covered. So you tend to see a bullish, aggressive buying with the individual investors out there. So we'll see. Just be careful if you're going long. You got to be careful. Healthcare is nearing our 10 to 15 EMA. It may have already crossed. You may want to take a look at XLV as a starter position. We've got it's the 10 and the 14 are touching. It's above the 200, which I liked, and it's right below the 50. So you may want to give it another day for confirmation. But everything's positive. And the relative strength index on this one is at 52. So XLV is the healthcare sector fund basket of healthcare products. Just keep in mind, I got stopped out of my dog today. On my long short position, it has pulled back quite a bit. We didn't get a cross down, but I wasn't going to fool around. And the relative strength index is 48.76, so it's not necessarily oversold. The diamonds had a nice push, and they went above the trend track line, and it's above the 10 and the 15 EMA. So I wasn't going to fool around. I put it, I had to tighten up my stop a little bit. So if you're short on that, we can always get back in. But it does look, this is starting to get a little bit of a steep increase. The relative strength index is a healthy 50. So there's a good chance this may get some legs into next week. The SPY is improving as well. So it is above the Twomey trend track line. It's now above the 10 EMA, and it looks like it's now eclipsing the 15 EMA. All the trends are positive. I've got a tight stop on the short. It hasn't kicked off yet, and it hasn't crossed here. Again, we're not going to sell at the top, nor we're going to buy at the bottom. So, this becomes you may want to take a little bit off. I don't think it's going to run that much more. But if it does, since it broke this trend track line, can't hurt. You can always get back in if you preserve, like I wanted to preserve a profit from down here. So I've got a tight stop, and I wouldn't be surprised if it kicks off today. But the relative strength index is dropping. It's at 51. It's still got a ways to go before we're oversold for the SPY and oversold for the short position, if you will. I mean, overbought for the SPY, the positive position, and for the short side, we're not in an oversold situation here at all. The QQQ is still the weakest. That one is probably, that's improving as well. It's bumping up. So this is a good day, and just be careful on your shorts. We may have to. I don't believe the trend. There's the short version of that, and it's starting to come down. Our inflection point to kick off the trade hasn't come off. If you want to take a little bit off because you're nervous, on short positions, that's okay, depending on where your profit is. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. We don't buy at the bottom. We don't buy at the high. We don't sell at the high. There is some, loss or seepage if you want. I'm fine with that. And I will deal, with the long term. I'll take the longer run trend. Let's just see quickly on the QQQ. That is, well below the 50, well below the 200. This is basically just a bounce. Even if I go all the way up here, Fibonacci, I don't know if I can get that. Yeah. It hasn't even a 0.238 bounce from this previous high up here. If you bring it in a shorter Fibonacci after the last ABC, if you will, A to B, B to C, you could use this point, and that's gone about 0.236. So it's the weaker indices. What I'm trying to say is you need to be careful in this type of market. For bear market rallies can be very aggressive. They can be really short-lived sometimes, and when it turns. I don't believe we're out of the woods yet, but I'm not in the prediction business. So we will see where the market goes. As far as our stock alert buys, let's see. UBS, as of now, it's up 3.4%. Novartis, NBS up 1.3. These are conservative investments, but I'm not, I get nervous in this bear market rally. CPG is up 12.7. That's energy. That's a good energy play. Low cost stock. You can buy a lot. Be careful. You can lose a lot. They tend to be, influential by, magnitudes of buying and selling very quickly. It changes directions or can drop just as fast as it goes up. SNPS, I got stopped out of it. 3.7 loss. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not going to fool. That was a esoteric software pick. I thought it was a pretty good NASDAQ, but I'm not going to fool around with the NASDAQ being so variable, if you will. Volatile is a really good word. I'm going to take a look at it. SNPS, see if it did anything today. And where are we? It's getting up to the 200, and it is at 305. So, if you stayed in it, you're in positive territory or pretty close to it. But ILF, that was the buy for the 24th. That's up 2.6%, 2.7. Verizon, we said a buy. We've been talking about that for a week and a half, 3.78. SNY, that's up. That's down. That's basically flat. And then DBC, the other one that we like, is 1.35. So keep your stops in. XLU, 74.45 is where I got in today. That's a buy. AVD, that's, just be careful on that one if you want to go with that. I would try to get a buy-in on a little bit of a pullback today, and then keep your stop pretty tight on that one as well, if you do happen to kick off and get that price. So you're willing to, you're going to have to risk 22.45 would be your first stop. If you get it in at 24, you're risking a couple of points there, right? 22.3 for your stop. You've got some risk there. I should have told you to buy in back here, but it is what it is. So as far as going long on the indexes, I wouldn't recommend it. I would wait at least till the weekend. If it the barn door opens a little bit and we have to make that change, it is what it is. But I'd rather see how this bounce plays out. This is James Twomey. Have a great day and enjoy your weekend. Bye now.